Hey, I get questions all the time about taxes on your Myrtle Beach or your South Carolina properties when you're getting ready to sell. So I wanted to give you just a couple bits of information, a little bit of insight as information only. Here's my disclaimer. I am not a tax attorney, nor am I a CPA, nor is anything that I'm giving you any type of advice. But I do want to give you just a little bit more insight than maybe you're getting because I know there's a lot of confusion out there. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's start by talking about property taxes, non-resident versus resident. We do get taxed differently in South Carolina on your primary residence versus if it is not your primary residence. So it's not necessarily in-state versus out-of-state. It's your primary versus something that's not a primary. On my primary home, I'm taxed at 4% of this long equation that involves all the millage in the schools and all that stuff. And on my investment properties, I'm taxed at 6% multiplied times this equation. If you want that equation, Horry, Georgetown both have county websites that will give you the exact, close to the exact millage that you can actually figure out an estimate of what your taxes would be. But I don't want to bring that into it right here because there's so many differences between school districts and stuff like that in the city, outside of the city, in the county. So just know that it's primary residence taxed at 4% times that equation and then your secondary home or something that you're not keeping as your primary residence. Okay. Second one is capital gains tax. Now, capital gains, anybody that tells you this is what it is not giving the whole story. There are so many variables that go into what you're going to be responsible for in terms of any capital gains, if there is any, including how you held the property, your tax bracket, your risk tolerance. All of those things go into that. But capital gains can be a big part of buying and selling along the Grand Strand, especially in different markets where you see significant appreciation in some properties, or sometimes where the market pulls back a little bit. So, disclaimer number two, always make sure if taxes are going to be, capital gains taxes are going to be part of your equation in buying or selling, make sure to consult with a professional CPA tax attorney, get those questions answered because it depends on your individual situation. Okay. Third thing I wanted to cover is 1031 exchange. A lot of confusion on 1031 exchanges, and they're becoming more prevalent. If you think of in the last 3 to 4 years, there's been a lot of equity that has been gained in, most of the market. So anybody that owned a property prior to 2020 or 2021 probably saw some really good appreciation. Then they're looking at the possibility of selling it and they're going, wow, I had some really good appreciation over a short period of time. Maybe I want to do something to be able to defer those taxes. Well, if you explore something like that, it's called a 1031 tax deferred exchange. 1031 tax deferred exchange. There's a lot of confusion. People think, well, I do the 1031, then I don't have to pay any capital gains taxes. Not quite. That's not exactly how it works. Take a look, do your homework online, talk to a professional tax attorney or a CPA. They'll explain all the details. There are some rules in there, but it basically works like if you've got a good amount of equity that you build up in a property and you're going to sell that property, then the tax law allows you to buy a similar property and take some of that taxes, some of that gain that you have, and defer the taxes on that down the road at some point. Okay. Now there's a lot of rules in there, and there's things that have to be done the right way. Otherwise, you can take what was going to be a great scenario and do a 1031 exchange and mess up one part of it. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be responsible for those taxes. So just want you to be aware of the term. And if you have equity in a property and you're going to be selling and you don't need to use it immediately for something else, then it might be a good option for you to explore. Again, talk to a professional in the tax industry. And the fourth one is the South Carolina gains tax. If you're getting ready to sell a property, your real estate agent should be explaining how this works to you. I talk to people all the time that have never heard of this. They never heard of it when they bought it. They didn't know it was even in existence. But the South Carolina gains tax is a tax that is based off of the stated gains that you have on a property when you go to sell it. It's not a sales tax. I get sellers all the time that will say, I don't want to pay the 7% sales tax. They believe they're going to actually get a 7% sales tax, like the property sale price times 7%, and that's going to come off the top for taxes. That's not how it works. Okay. So again, it's a tax question. Make sure to talk with your CPA tax advisor. They will be up on it if they're local or within the state of South Carolina. And most states have something similar. So if you're an out-of-state CPA, then they probably will be able to get their hands on exactly how it works. But I just wanted to clarify, it is not a sales tax. Every time that you buy a property, you are not, and sell it, you are not charged 7% for taxes. It's based off of the gains that you come up with over the time that you've owned it and all the expenses, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully this clears up a little bit and gives you some things to think about if you are considering selling or if you have those questions on how are taxes potentially going to affect the sale of my property. Hope that you are doing great. And if I can answer any other questions for you, feel free to reach out, whether it's tax related or anything else. I'm happy to be a resource for you. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and reach out to me. Send me a quick message on any of the social platforms. Let me know what topics you want to know about along the Grand Strand or other coastal areas of South Carolina real estate markets.